Hey, what's good? I'm Kinell and this is Sinister Cinema, where we get deep into the guts of classics and new releases from horror and exploitation cinema. Be sure to follow us up on the socials. That is Sinister_Cinema on your Twitter and Sinister.Cinema on your Insta. Yes, I had a little week off, got to see my girlfriend for a full week for the first time since lockdown, so I haven't been as much on my shit, but I am now fully back on it with a video today, and we are talking a new release that just dropped yesterday, the 20th of August on Shudder. It's a new release, interesting one. It's called Random Acts of Violence. So with that in mind, let's have a look.
Tonight we have a 1-hour special treat lined up for you, as I'm joined by none other than Todd Walkley, brainchild behind one of the most successful R-rated comic books ever, Slasher Man.
Slasher Man's like my life. I find it inspiring.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't found my ending yet.
This is a road trip that will be really fun and really informative.
We are staying in all motels. They're all rural and they're all real.
I didn't know a place like this still existed. Is any of this getting your creative juices flowing?
This could be the scene of a massacre, yes.
Guys, we are in the middle of nowhere. We need to figure this out. Yes. Oh my God, what is going on?
Is there a concern that Slasher Man could push the already unstable over the edge into violence?
I've drawn, what, 1,000 kills? Once in a while, one of them might match up with something that happens in this country.
We need to call the cops.
And tell them what? That it's a killer running around recreating murders for my comics?
What is it?
Oh my God. Todd drew this.
He is going to kill us.
I can't wait to show you.
Who comes up with this stuff?
Random Acts of Violence. Yeah, new one on Shudder that's available for streaming now, so you can get your free trial. Presumably you've already got your free trial if you've been watching Host, which everyone should. That's looking like the film of the year, but today we're talking about Random Acts of Violence, a Canadian slasher film directed by, don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but I'm going with it anyway, J. Baruchel, based off a comic by Justin Gray and Jimmy Palmiotti. What this film concerns, and I suppose the comic, I haven't read the comic, maybe I should have done, maybe I will, but yeah, what this film concerns, it concerns a comic artist slash writer who makes a comic called Slasher Man. Now this was, Slasher Man titular character is sort of inspired by a real serial killer, so some real unsolved murders that went down at a certain interstate somewhere, and fucking now it appears that his comic is inspiring an actual serial killer, as fucking bodies start turning up in ways that would suggest he is imitating the comics. Now, from that description alone, it sounds like it's going to be a Scream kind of thing, but that comparison will be doing this film an incredible disservice, because while Scream and all them kind of things are a bit more jokey, play with the horror tropes kind of thing, this is a much more serious meditation on the violence inherent in society and fucking the art that it inspires, and whether that art can go on to, in some kind of secular way, feed in to the pre-existing violence within society and all that. So it's serious issues, and I think it's a very interesting time for something like this to come out, particularly to revolve around comics, because it feels like lately art has to be like fucking any kind of mainstream movie. It has to appear, it's all fucking superheroes and shit these days, and everything has to be dumbed down to and homogenized in kind of a safe way to appeal to like grown adults that are now only watching fucking films about cunts in tights slapping each other around. Fucking, you know, there's nothing wrong with those kind of films. If that's what you like, that's what you go for. But you know, these days I'm not sure if something particularly violent, or something that talks about violence in an interesting way could ever sort of achieve any kind of mainstream success. And yeah, so that's a very interesting take on things to begin with. But yeah, this film itself, it's incredibly well made. Stars Jesse Williams and Jordana Brewster in incredible roles. It's very serious in tone. Like I say, it's not a fucking jokey fucking play with the tropes meta kind of thing. It's a very serious conversation on these issues, whilst also at the same time managing to be a very entertaining slasher movie. It's certainly very well made. It's stylish, fucking... The certain scenes sort of take on that kind of like comic imagery, which is very hard to do whilst maintaining a serious tone. You know, if you just saw a clip in isolation, it might kind of look a bit like the Shudder creep show thing, with, you know, fading between real life images and comic images. But this really adds to the narrative in this case. It fucking really adds to the point that the director, in my opinion, is trying to make, and whilst also, again, being a very entertaining film. The central performances, really strong. I believe your main dude was in like Grey's Anatomy and all them kind of things there. Fucking, I don't know that show, but a lot of people like it, and it fucking shifts box sets and that, so he's obviously good. Really impressed with Jordana Brewster and all. Quite early on, before we get into any kind of the real grisly shit, there's I believe the artist's girlfriend is writing a book concerning the real serial killer, and whereas she sees what he was doing with the comic as glamorizing the killer itself, she's trying to talk about the victims and how they're forgotten about. And there's quite an interesting conversation / argument / debate between those two characters earlier about about how fucking serial killers are represented, and fucking they are often glamorized. Everyone knows Ted Bundy, no one knows the names of the victims. Fucking, you know, and these kind of things, you know, these are big debates in an era when fucking true crime is fucking back at the forefront. You know, some might say it never went away, but fucking right now, I think in the sort of My Favourite Murder podcast era, there's a lot of investment in it, and people are fascinated by serial killers and so forth. But yes, anyway, bodies start turning up, fucking, and they're all kind of like displayed and dismembered in all these fucked up kind of ways. I'm not trying to get into spoiler territory here with it, but you know, basically it's very clear he's imitating the comic. You have a sequence quite early, about sort of in the early third of the film, where you see him meeting his fans, who are obsessed with these violent images he creates, like, and the way some of them communicate, it's kind of on the edge. Are they fucking feeding off this violence, or is it providing them a form of escapism from reality? You know, it's a big ongoing debate, particularly now. Like, I feel like we're entering a new era of people calling for more censorship, and fucking these kind of conversations are important to have. It's important to fucking talk about whether art can inspire violence. I mean, I don't feel it can, but there's an argument to be made. But whereas people who do have a predilection for violence maybe would be attracted to violent art, so yeah, it's them fucking arguments. I don't believe someone could be turned violent by any art form. But it makes sense to me that people who are fascinated by violence would gravitate towards violent art. You know, it's an important conversation we need to be having in an intelligent fucking way, because otherwise it becomes like these people like these video games, these people like these fucking comics, these people like these fucking movies, and they're violent, but it it doesn't fucking, weigh up with all the people who are into those things who aren't violent. But it's an easy scapegoat that can be used, fucking, rather than addressing real societal issues, such as fucking lack of access to mental health facilities, fucking schools being overstretched so they can't identify warning signs within kids, you know, the real stuff that actually leads people into a life of violence, you know, signs of abuse not being picked up on. These are the real things, and it's just so much easier in the media to say he was watching this movie. We've seen it before, the whole video nasty phenomenon over in Japan when that serial killer was found to have all the guinea pig films and his thing. And it's coming around again because whilst there was the initial fucking shock, the outrage in the media and about those things, it kind of fell away and fucking, but it seems to be coming back now. Everyone fucking, I don't know, I'm seeing some wild takes from the fucking right and the left in a lot of cases about why certain art forms shouldn't exist, and they're normally talking about something completely normal and fucking, you know, I've just watched Cannibal Ferox or whatever and watched a pig get stabbed to death for no reason in real life, and I'm kind of thinking, yeah, it's one of those. The debate will go on. It is important to have the debate, and this is a film that talks about it in an interesting, intelligent way, whilst also managing to be a really good slasher film that appeals to motherfuckers like me. So yes, random acts of violence, I'm saying 4 stars. No, I'm gonna give it 4.5 stars. 4.5 stars. Yes, banger. I would recommend that if you have Shudder, you check this out. I would recommend that if you've got your free trial on Shudder available, yeah, fucking fire that up. Get it watched. It's not going to cost you anything, all of them things. I'm not sponsored by Shudder. I'm not sponsored by anyone because no one watches my shit. But anyway, nonetheless, yeah, 4.5 stars, 4 random acts of violence. J Baruchel, big up yourself. Okay, so that's been Sinister Cinema. I'm Kinell. Be sure to hit us up on the socials. That's Sinister_Cinema on your Twitter, Sinister.Cinema on your Instagram. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Click the little bell if you want notifications. If you see random acts of violence, fucking let me know what you think. Right down there in the comments. Check that out. And yeah, like, blah, 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 YouTube things. I'm Kinell. This is Sinister Cinema. Safe.